Very good day and good evening, everyone. We're back again, and it's our very first IVF webinars this year. So it's just great to see you all here. Let me know if you can hear me loud and clear, and if only I will hear from you, we will be able to start. I hope you have just awesome festive season, and I wish you all the best for the whole 2020, and hopefully this year will be good for us all. I'm Sophie. I will be your host today. Welcome to IVF Webinars by Egg Donation Friends, and we meet here every week to guide you through and support you along your way of becoming a parent. Every week we discuss different topic, and we link you with best fertility experts from all over the world. All our webinars are recorded, and you can find it all in one place at our website at eggdonationfriends.com/IVF-webinars. IVF webinars are brought to you with help of our partners, and our partners are National Fertility Society, Fertility Clinics Abroad, and Donor Conception Network. And tonight, we are here to talk about IVF treatment abroad and to answer the question, are the popular destinations in Europe safe enough? Our guest tonight is Aleksander Wiecki. Good evening, Aleksander. How are you doing?
Good evening. I'm very good. Thank you.
Yes, glad to hear that. Aleksander is Chief Marketing Officer at IVF Media, and he's having a strong background in IVF industry. So he strongly believes that there is a gap between IVF patients and IVF clinics. And this gap actually means that patients may fall for the most common IVF treatments traps. That's why patients need help and support that they don't have from IVF clinics at this stage, and the support needs to come from an objective and trustworthy, reliable source. And actually, this is the aim of our meeting today. So, not wasting any more time, let's watch and listen to the presentation. And after the presentation, we will follow with Q&A session. So if you have any questions, now, in the meantime, or after the presentation, there will be plenty of time to answer all your questions, so you can type your questions in the chat section even now. Okay, Aleksander, if you are ready, we can start.
I'm ready.
Yes, so back to you. Let's do IVF webinars tonight.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I hope you can hear me and maybe even see me. I don't know, I feel like in the dentist, if you are in the chair in the dentist and he's or she is doing a dental work in your mouth and asking, how are you? And you say, oh. So this is, I'm asking, how are you? And I can't see any feedback because you can't actually speak, but you can chat with us. So we are here to have a quick chat or presentation about the IVF treatment abroad. This is the topic about the how safe is to go abroad, which originally came from the idea came on one of the meetings on fertility show in UK in London, because we had with Jacob, with my colleague who is with me behind the IVF Media company. We had a meeting and a big chat with one of the person from HFEA from UK, and they were like not really happy that patients are going abroad, and they said something like that it's not really safe because of the law, because of some restrictions, limits, etc., because there's a lack of organizations abroad that you can trust, etc., etc. So they are not really encouraging patients to go abroad. I would say even opposite way, they saying it's better to stay at home. And obviously, it's obviously great idea if you need to have an IVF treatment to stay at the country you are from, because it's always better to have a treatment as close to the clinic as it's possible. However, there are reasons that patients are going abroad, and we understand that reasons. And if you go abroad, we are here to support you as much as we can with some research and things that we have done recently, publishing the guides, what we call it IVF Abroad Patients Guide. And most of the information that I'll be presenting in this presentation, they come from this guide and from our work that we have done within 3 or 4 months back. So let's start. So this is the first slide. I'm showing that because I'm just wondering what does it mean safe treatment? Because it's easy to say, but it's a bit more difficult to to figure out what does it mean really safe treatment. Well, there are a few factors. I believe that they might be important from the this point of view. And if you are going abroad, probably these factors might be very important for you when you're looking for the clinic and maybe asking the clinic how they work, what they offer, how they offer, and how should they treat patients, and not only before the treatment, because the customer service is something which is developing very fast, and clinics starting. Most of the clinics understand that the customer service is important, so they are encouraging patients in a very good way. The point is what they're doing afterwards. So a few factors that you can see on the screen. This is something that came up to my mind to show you with on this slide. Regarding the safeness of the treatment. So we got the IVF law and the legal requirements. It doesn't matter what kind of law is in the country that you are going to. It does matter at the certain point. However, this law is different in every country. But what does matter, and the reason that point is on the list, is if the clinics really apply to this law. Because we have seen many examples that the law says that the maximum age limit is like 50, and there are still clinics who are supporting patients with like 45 or 52. This kind of things, and this is the reason I put this this point on the list. The clinic certifications. There are national bodies in all the countries, and they certify clinics to to have a proper right to treat the patients, etc., etc., including clinics, cryobanks, and obviously the embryology labs and any other units that are like needed or necessary to run the clinics. It may vary from country to country. Obviously, if I'm thinking about the clinic certifications, I'm thinking also about the ISO and all of this external certification that they can have. Treatment quality, it's another thing. I mean the medical quality of the treatment. What I mean in this point is the doctor, when you visit the clinic, asks you about the history, not about the money. So this is the start of the treatment. This is where the treatment quality starts. Experience. There are two different areas of experience that clinic can show up to you as a patient, if you ask. The first one is how long the clinic is like on the market, and how many patients they support in a year, etc., etc. However, that's only the one thing of this IVF industry, because the second one is the doctor and embryology lab. These are people who are behind patient success. So you can easily ask about the doctor's experience. If the doctor, carry on like one IVF treatment a month, I wouldn't say he is well experienced in this kind of treatment. So you can ask about the publications of this doctor, etc., etc., etc. The same with the embryologists. Another thing that I made bold on this list is ethics, because this is something I couldn't find on the clinic's website. It will be marked on another slide about the clinic's website and what you can find on the clinic's website and how they present the information. That leads us to the information on clinic website point, the customer service, which I started with, which is very important. However, not only before selling, but also during the treatment and after the treatment. The honesty, it's very, very important because there is a lot of things that can be misunderstood in the relationship between the doctor, between the customer service, between IVF coordinators and patients. Sometimes they can be misunderstood, by an accident, and sometimes they can, be misunderstood on purpose because somebody didn't want to share some right information with you. Hopefully not, but it might happen. This is the honesty with the treatment. And obviously the patient's experience at the clinic, which I think is very important because the IVF treatment is not the tooth extraction, which takes like 40 minutes and you're going home, and it's done. The IVF treatment is very difficult from medical point of view, from technical point of view, and from emotional point of view, from your perspective. So, and obviously it's not a cheap treatment. So I believe that everything which is connected with patients' experience at the clinic, how you are treated during the treatment, not only on the first visit, but during the whole experience at the clinic and after the treatment is very, very important. And the last point, which I put on the list, is a post-treatment service care, which means, what happens after the embryo transfer. I mean, the bills are paid, clinic made the money, you got the embryo transferred, and is there anything happening after that from the clinic's perspective? You can always ask before you go to any clinic, how did they treat the patients after the embryo transfer? Do they contact? Do you have any contact point to get back if there's something wrong, etc., etc., etc. So this is just for a start. Let's go further. So answering the question from the first slide, I'm sorry. I can say that IVF abroad in these popular countries that patients are going is safe. There is a lack of information about the law, about the limits, about how these things are, working in different countries because they're working in different ways, and every country is a bit different. There are no similarities in IVF because every country has different law, different bodies who are behind this law, and a different point of view on some things that are happening in this country. It doesn't mean it's good or bad. It's just good enough for a particular country. This is something I would like to start with to make maybe a better understanding of the law thing. And I would say there is no something like the bad IVF law. I mean, the law is good enough for every country. However, you can always find a bad clinics. And it's not only IVF industry. You can do it in car dealers. You can do it when you're buying some, I don't know, even expensive things. There are businesses that are right, they are fair enough with the relationship, with the partners, with the clients, with the customers. And sometimes on 100, you can find somebody who is like black sheep in this industry. And the same with IVF. We have seen many examples on the market of the clinics who are operating in the country where the age limit according to the law is, for example, 50. And when patients is asking this clinic, okay, I'm 55, I'm 51, so maybe we can do something about it. And they say, okay, let's do it. We figure it out. Okay, but this is not all right according to the law. Another example, what we can see, and this is, there are a lot of things, researchers, etc., about the number of embryos to transfer. And there are some countries where the maximum number of embryos are clearly marked in the law. And just for example, we got the country where the maximum number of embryos to transfer is 2. Obviously, this is one of these countries with a very good reputation, where most well-established clinics, they will recommend the single embryo transfer anyway. However, this is the maximum limit for embryo transfer, for number of embryos to transfer. And there are patients who are asking about 3 embryos or 4 because they read, they heard, or they found on the internet forums that the more embryos you have transferred, the better success rates you can have. And there are clinics who are asking, okay, we can figure it out. Patients are asking for 3, why not? Okay. And so on, so on. Another thing is phenotype matching. There are still countries where you can go and, you are, for example, black, and you're looking for Caucasian egg donor, and they will let you do that. Sometimes it doesn't mean only the law, but sometimes it's what's important is the recommendations of the international bodies who are, putting the recommendation guidelines for the IVF industry, for clinics, and they are not doing that for clinics. They're doing that for patients to make you feel more safe about the treatment. And the phenotype matching is one of these guidelines that is like in the Europe, in the world, that it should be phenotype matched if you're looking for the donor for treatment with the donor egg. Just make it very simple. The donor should be similar or the same race as the recipient. And there's nothing wrong with that. And this is just a recommendation and a guideline. And in some countries, it's just a low requirements, and the clinics need to stick to that. Another thing is the gender selection, which is prohibited in every country in Europe, even in North Cyprus. We probably will have the discussion about that, because I think there will be questions about it. It's prohibited. It's not possible to do the gender selection unless there are medical reasons. In that case, every clinic who is supporting patients with PGS, PGTA, or PGD, or any kind of genetic embryo diagnosis, they can make the gender selection if there are medical reasons for that. However, if it's just a family balancing thing, or just the idea of the patient that today we would like to have a girl or a boy, it's prohibited and it's not allowed. But still, there are some exceptions that the clinics that are not saying that loud, but sometimes they allow patients to do that in some. I would say they're bending the rules in some weird way and trying to do that. There are not many of them, but it might happen. So this is something that, at the end of the day, if you got the country which is like 20 or 30 clinics, and then you got one clinic which is bending the rules on the daily basis, and then we go to the fertility show in London. We meet HFEA people from the most important organizations in UK, which is regulating IVF business and the clinics in UK. And they saying going abroad is bad because there is a clinic over there. We heard that doing something which is not really very good for patients. And it's not because of the IVF industry in that country. It's because of this one or two clinics who are bending the rules to get more money, or maybe they're just thinking to make more patients happy, which is not true. Okay. And this is why all of these things they are happening every day. I mean, patients don't know the rules and the limits, how the law works, what are the differences between the countries. So we started working a few months back on the IVF Abroad guide for patients, which has been already published, and it's available to download for everyone who is happy to do that on the whereivf.com or donationfriends.com. And we just try to put all the things together to make the decision-making process for you, if you are going abroad, a bit easier. Maybe it won't be perfect anyway. However, it will be a bit easier. And this is one of the 55 pages that the guide has, and I just pick up a few pages just to show you what we are presenting and the way we are presenting these things. And this is one of the things which is related into this previous slide, because here you can see, I try to enlarge it because I believe that nobody can see that. I'm not going to go through every point here. I'm just trying to show you what you can find in the guide anyway if you download it. So there are this is the comparison of the law by popular countries in Europe where patients are going very often. We got eight countries here. We got Spain, Czech Republic, North Cyprus, Greece, Ukraine, Poland, Russia, and Latvia on the next slide. And what we're showing here is the average pricing point for egg donation for all eggs. We are showing the average pricing, the average success rates. However, they are not picked up from any clinics. The success rates are based on the ISHRA reports, which is the main organization for Europe in Europe, which is like it's like a national body in Spain, but it's international. So they are just picking up the data from all of the countries, from the countries collecting data from clinics, and ISHRA is not collecting data from clinics, they are collecting data from countries. So this data, according to the success rates, are based on the ISHRA report 2015, as far as I remember, and because this is the latest one, they are like behind a bit. And there are the average numbers for each country. However, it's better than looking at the clinic success rates, which we will discuss a bit further. What you got here is a single woman treatment, same-sex lesbian couples, maximum number of embryos to transfer when there's donor eggs used, and the maximum number of embryos when it's own eggs, etc., etc., etc. Age limits and all of these things. So you can just see this comparison here, and you can use that as a starting point. If you somebody is asking what's in the right column, I mean, this is Greece here. This is the right column. I don't know if this is something you are referring to. However, in the left column, you got just this basic things that we are comparing, and in the right column, there are countries. So that can be just a. I think that this can be just a referring point for the patients, where they're asking, okay, can you do this or this or this, and you can check it out if it's really, possible. Sometimes the problem with the law in every country is that sometimes they are not like clear enough to the things that they are covering, and the clinics has got this, like, they can I would say bend the rules on the some way, but the good clinics, they're following the recommendations and guidelines of the international organizations. So this is particular thing with the good example is the maximum number of embryos to transfer. There are many countries that they are not regulating that in a strict way, but most of the clinics are going into this SET, as we call it, single embryo transfer for all of the patients, and this is the recommendation. However, there are many other things that can be like treated in different ways in different clinics. So at the end of the day, you can find 2 or 3 or 5 clinics in the same country, which they will give you 3 or 5 different answers on your questions according to what's possible and what's not possible, because sometimes it's their decision what they can do. This is just the example how we're presenting this data. And if you go to the next slide, you can see that there are 4 other countries. Why these countries? We have, because we pick up to 8 countries to this guide. Why this one? Because we are operating 2 websites, fertilityclinicsabroad.com and the eggdonationfriends.com. And as what we can see from the statistics, what patients are picking up as the main destinations for them, these 8 countries are very, very popular. So we thought that it would be a good idea to start with these countries. We got the plan to extend this guide a bit for like 2 or 3 and maybe even 4 countries. However, we haven't got any idea when it's going to happen. So today we got eight of these countries. Okay, let's go. Other, as I told you in the beginning, the clinic's websites, it's something that's, this is the internet era. You can go to Google and see everything you want. Obviously, patients are looking through the internet forums, discussion groups, Facebook, trying to ask friends, trying to see the reviews on the Google Business or on our websites. However, at the end of the day, you will go to the clinic's website to see if it looks like a professional unit center and what kind of information they are presenting. And the problem is that I would say that clinics, in most examples, I mean 95%, they treat the website as a kind of the store with merchandising business in front of you. So I mean, it's full of the things that they're trying to make a unique selling proposition or make the reason to believe for patients that this is the place they should come. However, if we look into the details and the things that I, as a patient, if I would be a patient, I would like to see the clear price. What does it mean? I would like to see what will be the cost of overall treatment. I can understand that it can be adjusted because of my situation, etc. However, if you look at the clinic's websites, if you find the pricing and the pricing list, because it's a common practice in Spain, for example, that you haven't got any pricing list on the websites. If you go to the North Cyprus clinics, in most of them you can't find the pricing on the website. I don't know why, and I can't understand it, but this is the reality. So what you have to do, you have to call them or just write an email to ask about pricing. I would suggest to all of these clinics to show the pricing tomorrow on their websites. There's nothing to hide, because it's really good to show that you are showing the information in a very transparent way. So this is something that if you really find it, it's really difficult to understand. From my experience, I've seen many clinics in UK, which are based in UK, and they are publishing the price list, and they are very, very good at that. I mean, they are very well to understand, and even with some explanation what does it mean, why you have to do that, etc., 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 to make you understand before you come to the clinic. Well, I think it's really a simple thing. They understand that doctor's time, customer service time is very precious, and the more information you can gather yourself during your experience on the website, it's always better because it doesn't change anything. If the clinic is too expensive, it will be still too expensive for you, even if you ask them about pricing points via email. So another thing is the doctor's experience and the publications. I mean, I can see the website where are the doctors presented. However, there are maybe on the 100 website, I would say there are 2 or 3 where the doctors are really well presented. I mean, there are a list of the publications they have done so far, etc., etc., etc. Why I'm mentioning this point? Because if you would like to check the clinic's experience, who you will be dealing with in the clinic during your treatment? You will be dealing with the doctor, and the doctor is probably 20, maybe 30% of your success. The rest of the success is probably in embryology lab. However, it's always good to see if this doctor is really experienced in fertility, IVF industry, because you can't compare 2 doctors. I mean, I can imagine the doctor who's got the 1 year's experience, and I can imagine the doctor who's got 15 years experience. I can imagine the doctor who is working in fertility 10 years and got the 5 publications on different subjects, however, still medical, comparing to the doctor who's got the same experience according to the years of experience. However, with 20 publications, regarding endometriosis, PCOS, etc., etc., etc. So that make the difference. I'm not saying that that doctor will be far better. I don't know. However, that makes the difference from the patient's point of view and the reason to believe to go to this clinic or not to go to this clinic. Success rates, they are published very often. Unfortunately, the higher the better. It doesn't mean anything. We will discuss this thing a bit further. Clinics know that patients remember numbers, and if patients see on the website 83% of the success rates, they will go to this clinic because another one is 82. I can tell you it doesn't matter at all. Because what does matter is your chances to get pregnant, not the clinic success rate. But I will give you a quick advice in a few minutes. Country law registration. I tell you what, on 100 websites I visited, I can find maybe one or two where you can clearly see the legislation in the country. In the meaning of what clinic can do for you and what cannot do. The clinics still believe that if you are a patient and go to the website, and the website is from clinics in Spain, so you as a patient know what is possible and what is not possible in Spain. They are wrong. It doesn't work that way. We know that 90% of the patients haven't got a clue what are the differences, limits, restrictions, etc. And I can't see any reason not publishing that on the websites. And the second point with the question mark is the code of ethics, because I couldn't find it anywhere. And I think that may be very important also from some of the patients' point of view. Okay, so we have been working on this guide, and we were at the same position as you are looking for the clinic abroad. We were trying to collect the information. So we just put your shoes, and we're trying to gather all of this information to get the guide done for you. So how easy it was? Well, we started with online checking as everyone would do, and we were that engaged before we start. And we got the results. We divided the information we would like to get from the countries, about the countries, on 4 groups. The first one is if the IVF legislation is available online. And I try to mark it because I got this 21st century equipment which allows me to mark it here. So IVF legislation available online in English. Because if I'm from UK or from Australia, I would like to have 10 minutes and check it out what's possible and what's not possible in a given country. Actually, it's not possible to figure it out. As you can see, the red dots here, that means that they got the legislation online. However, it's in their own language. So you got in Spain legislation about IVF in Spanish, in Czech Republic in Czech, in North Cyprus in Turkish, and so on. The only exception is Latvia, where it is in English. However, it's partially and it's not updated. However, it's far better than any other country. Another thing is the list of the certified centers. I would ask myself, okay, I found the clinic website is beautiful. Clinic looks great. Obviously, they got the money because they got the beautiful building. The question is that if they have a right to operate, treat the patients, etc. I don't know that because I'm from UK and the clinic is like in Czech or Spain. So I would like to check it online. Easy, 5 minutes, because it's Google time. You can do that. However, it turned out that it wasn't really simple because in Spain, yes. However, the dot is orange because it's still in Spanish, so it's not. It's not that complicated. However, it's not in English. It's not patient friendly. It's not UK patient friendly unless patients from UK speak Spanish. Czech, it's red dot. It's available. It's in Czech. However, apart from the IVF clinics, they got all of the gynecologists, hospitals, units, etc. So it's really difficult to figure out which one is which one, and so on and so on. There is one exception on the market, which we were surprised. It's Greece. They got the national body, which is regulating, recommending, making the guidelines for the patients and for the clinics. and they publishing the up-to-date list of the clinics who are certified to run the business in Greece. And this is very good, and it's in English. Everyone can have an access to that. We got the link in the guide. If you download it, you can see that. In other countries, it's a bit weird. I mean, most of them are publishing something like that. However, in Ukraine and North Cyprus, there is absolutely no way to access to any data showing the list of the IVF centers. Another point that we were checking is the IVF success rates per IVF center, because every patient, when they're looking for the clinic, the first question is what are the success rates? Okay, fair enough. Let's check it online. Okay, it's impossible. As we turn out, it's impossible to check it by the center. The only exception is Spain. However, the dot is not green because the information they are publishing is useless. I mean, they are showing the success rates, at least the egg donation success rates. They are shown in the way which is completely incomparable between clinics. I don't know why they do that. However, you can find it. However, it doesn't say anything valuable. In the rest of the countries, there is absolutely no way to check the success rates as per the IVF units. Okay, so we thought, okay, we can't check that by the IVF center. Let's check if we can get the information about the national average for IVF and egg donation, obviously separate, in this country. So, so as you can see on this list, Spain, Czech Republic, Ukraine, Russia, Latvia, Poland, they are publishing these things, and you can see that. However, it's in national language, so it will be difficult to understand unless you speak Czech or Ukrainian or Spanish. Okay, so this is another part of the information that we were trying to gather to put all the things together to make it easier for you. Maybe it won't bring you closer to picking up the clinic. However, maybe it will bring you closer to ask the right questions to the clinic. Okay, this is how we look like after the research, because engagement, vanished because we couldn't find what we were expecting to find. So we thought, okay, let's ask the Ministry of Health, national bodies in this country, etc. And this is what we've done. Still, engagement went back on the 100% level, and we were trying to ask this organization. We asked exactly the same questions about the law, about the possibilities, what's allowed, what's not, what the limitation, etc., etc., etc. As you can see, this is the page from the guide, so we can see which countries, when, and who we were asking, and who answered the question and when. So as you can see, we haven't had any answer from Spain, which is #1 destination for IVF patients abroad. So this is really, really, really bad, I would think. We haven't had the answer from Greece, which is bad, of course, and we haven't had any answers from Russia. From the rest of the countries, we had the answers. However, in Czech Republic, the answers was like, I would say that it was more marketing answer than helping answer. It was answer like, go to this website and check it out because we publish this information. Yes, they are. You can find this information. However, most of them are in Czech language, so we couldn't understand it anyway. But anyway, this is the orange light, because at least they answer our emails. So we got the point to contact and get back with any questions if you would like to. As you can see, Spain, Greece, and Russia, they have never get back to us, even though we were trying to call them, using different emails, etc., etc., etc. So this is how it looks like on the market. Okay, this is the guide. As I told you, it's 55 pages. It's really detailed comparison of all of these countries. I hope that part was helpful. We haven't got much time to continue our presentation. We are very close to the Q&A section. However, there are 2 or 3 things I would like to share with you. This is the copy, the quote I took from the HFEA website. HFEA is the organization in UK behind the IVF business. I hate this word, however, at the end of the day, they're making the money. If you read that, a great fertility clinic isn't just one that gives you effective treatment. It's one with compassionate staff, clear pricing, seamless administrative processes, and exceptional emotional support. This is the advice from HFEA, how to look at the clinic, how to find the clinic, how to check if the clinic is all right. I mean, I know that it sounds great, however, it's very difficult to do. However, you can't find here any information about the success rates, any recommendation about the pricing point. I mean, the cheaper the better, as most of the patients are thinking. And obviously the time frame of the treatment, I mean, how quick the treatment can be done. Because these factors are not determine the success rates and the effectiveness of the treatment. There are other things that are more important. So this is I didn't write it. I just you know I steal that. Okay, I just borrowed that from them. Okay. So that leads us to this our triangle. We figure out, like, I don't know, 1 year ago, 2 years ago, and we're trying to share that with patients. If you're expecting one of the points of this triangle. So if you would like to have a high success rates, which are here, your treatment won't be quick and cheap. I can assure you. So if you are here, it won't be quick and it won't be cheap. If you would like to make it cheap, it's possible. However, it won't be the treatment with high success rates, and it won't be quick. It won't be. And if you would like to make it quick, because some patients are putting the time frame of the treatment of the first place. Yeah, we need to do that way because we are the holiday and we can't do it in a different way, etc., etc. If you would like to make it quick, I can assure you it won't be cheap and it won't be successful. These points are not aligned together. You can't think that way. You need to try to find a clinic which is here. Okay? I know it's easy to say, it's more difficult to do. However, this is the reality. Two things that are very good to know for you. The first, if you see any offer advertised by the clinics on their websites, on their emails, I can assure you can add on average 30% of top what is advertised, and that will be your final cost of the treatment. I'm not talking about accommodation, flights, etc. This is the separate thing. I'm talking about the money spent at the clinic. This is how it works. This is the reality. And another thing, this is the mistake which is made by 80% of the patients, asking about the clinic success rates. The patients are asking clinics, what are your success rates? It's wrong. It doesn't matter what are the clinic success rates. What does matter is what are your chances to get pregnant in this clinic with these doctors and this embryology lab, etc., and so on. So don't ask clinics about their success rates, and what they publish on the websites is their success rates, not your success rates. It's just an average. It's the numbers in Excel. It means nothing for you. You need to ask about your prospects for getting pregnant in this particular clinic or unit, bearing in mind your medical history, number of IVF cycles failed, your diagnosis, your genetic situation, etc., 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 and so on. So only on that base you can ask about the success rates in the meaning of your prospect of getting pregnant. Don't ask about the success rates of the clinics, because I repeat that third time, it does mean nothing. You can't compare it. It's impossible, because the clinics are measuring and counting the success rates in 5,000 different ways, and they are not comparable at all. This is why in the guides we use the Israel success rates, because they are not perfect, but they are comparable between the countries, because they are collected in exactly the same way. Period. And so this is the one source that we use. And this is the last thing, which comes from USA. They got the organization called SART and CDC. The CDC is the National Center for Chronic Disease Prevention, and they are behind the IVF and behind the SART. So they getting the report from SART, which is the part of ASRM, which are collecting data from, I don't know, 200 clinics in United States. And this is what they come up as advice for the patients where they are looking for the clinic. We encourage consumers considering ART, which means IVF, to contact clinics to discuss their specific medical situation and their potential for success using ART techniques. You see, they are not saying ask about success rates, because it doesn't work that way. They telling you need to ask about your prospects based on your medical history. And that's it. The final word is be careful, not suspicious. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, which I believe are here on the list already, I will be answering them now if Sophie help us out to gather them.
Yes, of course. And thank you, Aleksander, for a very informative presentation. As well, in the chat section, I put the link to the guide, which you can, of course, download from our website.
You can find the guide on the whereivf.com website, and obviously on the eggdonationfriends.com. There is the section in main menu called IVF Abroad Guide, and you can find it here. It's free. Yeah. You can download it. And just one thing, just to remember for all of you who are trying to treat the guide as the main source of information, which I would be very happy on that. However, bear in mind that it's not perfect. I mean, there can be mistakes in there. If you find any, get back to us. We try to fix it up and do the corrections, because we are not perfect. The information available on the market is limited. As you can see, even Ministry of Health, they wouldn't be able to answer us on our email. So we just need to figure out this information in a different way. We ask some clinics, etc., etc. So if you find any mistake, just get back to us, and we'll be more than happy to receive that feedback and put it on our list of corrections in the near future. Thank you.
Yes, of course. And I think that now we can just start the Q&A session. We have already some questions waiting for us. So we will take the first one. How do we choose a clinic? There are so many.
This is a very good question, and I got the answer. I don't know. I mean, I know it's very difficult. However, at the first place, I think every patient should focus on the country. Why I'm saying that? Because if you depends on your situation, sometimes the number of the countries you can go to can be limited because of your age, because of some things that you would like to have in your treatment which are not possible in one country or another. However, if you focus on the country first, it will be easier to get the shortcut of this clinics available for the treatment for patients in the country. The second step I would take, I would divide these clinics into two groups: the cheap clinics, which are below the average in the country, and the clinics on the average and up. And I would, at the first place, I would cancel all of these clinics which are below the average, which are very cheap. Why? Because the cheapness, it's not something which likes the IVF. I mean, there are many ways if you are running the IVF clinic to save the costs. However, it won't make your success rates better. I would say it makes your success rates worse. So I wouldn't go with very, very cheap clinics. This is something I would start with. And obviously, you got the internet forums, you got the websites where you can see the reviews from the clinics, the information they are publishing. You can see the website, you can see the doctors. In other ways, what we are doing to try to maybe answer your questions in different way and create different possibility for patients. What we are doing, we are trying to connect patients with clinics, giving them a chance to have a free consultations with the doctor. not with the people from customer service or etc., just with the doctor to discuss your medical situation. And sometimes if you have 1, 2, or 3 this kind of consultations, you can choose, because at the end of the day, it's not the clinic important. The doctor is important because this is the real person you are speaking to, and he will be or she will be responsible for your treatment. So this is one of the possibilities. You can look through the clinic profiles on our website. Actually, on our website we have I don't know how many clinics we have, probably around 40 on egg donation friends, and I don't know, maybe 50 on fertility clinics abroad. However, what I can tell you, we have visited most of the clinics. I would say 90%. During the last year, we visited almost 100 clinics, and I tell you what, most of these clinics are good. I mean, they are not the clinics that are putting the money first, not the patients first. They are really care about the patients, and they're trying to do their best to to make the treatment as successful as possible. However, where are the differences? The differences are in the customer service and the treatment experience and the patient's experience in the clinics, because every clinic is different. However, it's very difficult to to make, like, if you are asking me, and I can't tell you how to do that. I can give you a clue and the hints how to ask these clinics and what to check on the beginning. And 2 months ago or 3 months ago, it was just before we published this guide, I made the test, and I sent the email to 5 clinics in one of the countries. There are kind of good clinics, and I would expect very professional and very good customer service. And I asked 5 questions. I put them in a bullets, numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I got an answer from 2 clinics. I got the answer probably next day, but from the rest 3, like after the week. But there wasn't any clinic answering my questions, and that was the first point. I thought I wouldn't go to any of that clinic, because they didn't answer my questions. They were trying to sell me something I didn't ask for, and these questions were very simple. So that may be a probably starting point. If you already have a shortcut of the clinics, like 5 or 6, you can put your questions on the list and try to ask them and see what's happened after 1 or 2 days. The clinic who is answering after 7 days, I wouldn't get back to that clinic anyway, because they are answering after 7 days at the stage they are trying to sell something and attract the patients and help the patients. So I don't know how long they will be answering after the embryo transfer, maybe 2 weeks, because that's end of the process from their point of view. So I think this responsiveness, professionalism, I would say the approach, which is bespoke approach, tailor-made approach, is very important, and you can easy check it out just asking them questions via email, and just checking out how long it takes them for answer, and how they answering on these questions, if they really answer these questions. Okay, I haven't got anything I can say except what you've seen on the presentation. That's probably you are the patients with particular medical history, probably some things with the diagnostics, etc., etc. You can put all of these things in one email and send to this short list of the clinics you pick up already, and ask what is the offer. I mean, what they're offering, and how successful this offer can be, bearing in mind your situation. Some of the clinics probably will offer you the consultation with the doctor. Some of them would like to get the money for that. Some of them probably make it free. You can always ask our consultants, Elizabeth and Caroline. They can connect you probably with one of the clinics based on information that you support us with the free consultation, and it's also the possibility to do that. Obviously, internet forums, you can see what's happening there, who is writing what. I don't know if these posts are written by real patients or maybe from by people who are like hired by clinics, by PR departments. I don't know. You never know because it's kind of anonymous thing. So that's it. Okay.
Yes, and thank you for facing this difficult question and honest answer. And we will now take a look at the next question, which is this one. I was originally considering Ukraine or Cyprus because they allow IVF for single women and are comparatively affordable. But I am now very worried about political instability.
Okay. I can tell you that there is nothing to worry about the Ukraine. I mean, there are some things like political, etc. However, there are two cities where most of the clinics are located, which is Kiev and Lviv. Lviv. I don't know how to say it in English. Lviv. I don't know. Okay, the second big city.
Yeah.
And there are 3, 4 very good centers on Ukraine, which are worth to trust anyway. So regarding Ukraine, there's nothing to worry about. Regarding Cyprus, I mean, I don't know if you're referring to Cyprus or North Cyprus. If it's Cyprus, it's completely okay. If it's North Cyprus, it's also okay, as far as you will have a chance to choose the clinic which got the proper certification. You might not know that, however, on North Cyprus there are some problems with North Cyprus. You see, you're writing North Cyprus. There are some problems with the certifications of the clinics, and I don't remember the latest news. However, at the time we were on the Cyprus, only 4 centers had the proper certification, and I think it's maybe 5 today. And bear in mind there are 16 or even 18, I think. Let's say 16 centers on North Cyprus, and only 4 or 5 they got the proper certification from the government. This is the certification issued after 2016 because the law changed in that year. So we've been there with my colleague Jacob. We visited almost all clinics. I mean, they most of them look good. There are a few which are very good. I'm thinking about the service, the treatment quality, the doctor's experience, etc. However, they got this problem with the law and the certification. Okay.
Yes, thank you for the answer and, of course, for the question. We have a quite related question about the clinics and destination, so we will go with those. Have you already heard anything on the impact that Brexit might have on IVF treatment abroad?
Yeah, this is funny. We had this. We have done the survey. It was like a few months ago about the Brexit. However, I don't know. We had probably something like 50 votes, so it wasn't too many. However, today the Brexit is more reality than the dream for one of the group and the nightmare for another group of the patients from UK. However, we asked at the time you were in the fertility show and a few other meetings in UK. We asked the fertility network. We asked HFEA. We ask other people we know in UK what they think about the impact on the on the IVF treatment abroad, etc. And actually, to be perfectly honest, I can't see anything that may like destroy that, except the increasing of the pricing of the flight tickets. Maybe I don't know. Today we can't see anything that can be like worse than is today. Obviously, there are these things with visas and all of this stuff. However, I don't think that the UK will be treated in the different way that it used to be. So I can't see anything that can be that can make this wrong or bad impact on the IVF abroad from that point of view.
Thank you. And one more question about being concerned about the fact that North Cyprus is not in the European Union.
Okay, this is a very good question. Yes and no. Why? Uh, no, because you are going over there and you're doing your treatment, you're getting blood, and everything is fine. Yes, because if you go there, undertake the treatment, and there is something wrong, uh, the weird things may happen because if you would like, if there will be something, just for example, like the card issue, the issue in the court or on any other organization you would like to, you know, um, uh, uh, fight with or maybe sue the clinic at some point. I don't know. Uh, I tell you what, nobody knows how to do that because they are not in EU. They are not referring to EU law. So probably everything which connected with the court, with the law, should happen on the North Cyprus, which will be more difficult from the patient's point of view. However, I haven't heard about any one situation on North Cyprus, which led us to this kind of solution, like hard solution, like court and all of this stuff. But it's a medicine. And the end of the day, behind these clinics are people who are making mistakes. So it's always something that should be taken into consideration. Uh, However, I wouldn't say that this is something that should really discourage patients to go there. There are patients who are going to United States, and it's outside the EU as well. Obviously, it's a different story than the North Cyprus. However, anyway, it's outside of the EU. But the fact is that it's outside, and nobody knows how the things are working over there.
Great, and thank you for the answer, of course, as well as for the question. We will now jump to the next one, and we will change the subject a little. How should I choose a clinic for own egg IVF if I'm over 40? I find most clinics don't have experience or just use standardized cookie cutter protocols instead of viewing the case really individually and thinking out of the box, experiment a bit. Most follow the old true and tried protocols. Those aren't suitable for the over 40 patient though. What questions should I ask and what should I look for besides a stellar lab?
This is very difficult because the practice on the market today at IVF clinics is more like it's a recommendation or indication for the patients. If you are 40, probably you should try the donor eggs and just go step forward on your treatment. And the point is that this is the easier treatment from the clinic's point of view. And I think that finding the clinic which is really happy to support you as a patient, it will be kind of difficult. Support you as a patient who is going with this IVF with own eggs. The clinics who won't be pushing you to go for egg donation because of your age. The clinics is obligated to show you the risks and obviously the prospects, which are obviously lower because of your age, etc., etc. However, I think that these kind of clinics are still on the market, and I can't give you the advice that would help you straight away. However, the only advice I could give you is to contact our consultants because Elizabeth and Caroline they are in contact and they know very good the clinics they chatting with and they organizing this consultation, etc. And maybe they find the solution for you that you may maybe try. I'm not saying going there, but you can still have a consultation or just information as a starting point that this or these clinics are will be happy to take care of you. I fully understand what you are saying about the standard protocols, etc., etc. And yes, this is true. Many clinics are doing that because it's cheaper, it's quicker, it's more profitable. because at the end of the day, most of the patients who are at the age of 40 or 41 or 42, they will have indications to get to go with the donor eggs anyway. However, the medicine is far better today than it used to be 20 years ago. So I think every patient can have a chance if they would like to still continue the treatment with their own eggs. And that's a pity that there are many clinics that are thinking a bit different way. I'm not saying there are bad at something, because they are very good in what they're doing. However, this is something like, I would say you're complicated and difficult example of the patients, because you are really looking for the different solution. I believe you probably had some IVF phase or something, and their situation is complicated. So I would recommend you to contact Elizabeth or Caroline, and they obviously if you ask them, they won't send you the list of the clinics tomorrow, because they need to have a chat with you and really understand your situation, what's happened before, and what countries you are looking for, and then they can, think about the clinics and the doctors, because we are looking for the good doctor who is, working with this kind of patients. So this is the advice I would give you. I'm sorry, it doesn't solve your problem, but at least it could be a good starting point. I didn't mention that, but contacting with Elizabeth or Caroline, it doesn't cost you any money, and this consultation they're organizing and advising is free of charge, so don't worry about it.
Yes, and I put an email address to contact Elizabeth and Caroline directly. You can find it in the chat section and just click it, and there it is. Thank you for the question and for the answer, of course. And we will now take a question which takes us back to the chart you were showing us. In case of the Ukraine, you show no for if the clinics are certified. Do I just ask the clinics in the Ukraine if they are certified and what proof they have?
Yes, obviously you can. However, we haven't got the information what they should have. I mean, what I mean, they can show you what they have, and that we have to be enough for you to make your decision. However, we don't know what they need to have to be certified. In that case, we should ask the Ministry of Health and etc. There is you can find some information about the requirements for IVF centers and units in Ukraine in our guide, because we had the contact with not with the Ministry of Health, but with the national body in the Ukraine, which is called URAM, and there is, I don't remember the name, Professor Yusko behind this business, and there is they support us with the information of the contact point for the patients. So if you are a patient and would like to ask anything about the Ukraine, instead of going to the Ministry of Health, there are email addresses and the phone numbers in our guide for the people you may contact with, which are from independent organizations who is behind this I don't remember the name of the organization. They're working for this organization. So they are giving the guidelines and recommendations for clinics, and they are happy to help any English-speaking or Ukrainian or Russian-speaking patients asking about the things in Ukraine. I would advise to go to the guidance and check the page with the Ukrainian part. Just let me see, because I got it open on my screen. Just a second. Ukraine. Let's see what we got here. Just a second. Yes, I remember Ukraine. Yes, it's UARM. It's a Ukrainian Association of Reproductive Medicine. And there are two persons who are happy to help any patients from abroad, which is Irina and Natalia. And there is the email address marked here. I just make it easier for you, and I put that address here in the chat section. I hope you can see that. Is this one?
Yes.
So this is what I can say.
Yes, we have the email address in the chat section, and as well we have already a shout out for you. Perfect, thank you for the question and for the answer, of course, as well. We will now take a look at the next question, and this will be as well referring to the presentation strictly. What was the name of the source you said you use for comparing success rates? I can quite understand the term you're using.
It's ISHRE. I just type it in on the chat section.
Okay.
Just a second. I just type in the.
Yeah, I published it as well.
The website address.
No, the name, but if you have the.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just thinking about the website address. So this is the European Association of Human Reproduction Embryology, and they are the association which brings all of the clinics in Europe together. This is the most important organization in Europe. This is what I was referring to. ISHRE, maybe I pronounced it in the wrong way. I'm sorry. However, this is the organization. Okay.
Yes. And thank you for providing this information to us as well. We will have a lot of questions to go, so we will take a look at the next one. Do you think that talking to doctor per visit to clinic is wise? Shall I be worried if clinic do not offer online consultation?
I think it's a very good idea to speak to the doctor before you go. If you're traveling 2,000 kilometers, I would believe that it's always good to check out if this is the person I would like to have a treatment with, because I would say that the treatment, the way you are choosing the doctor. Sometimes you go to the doctor, I don't know, to gynecologist or to GP, and it says, okay, this doctor, I don't like this doctor. I don't know why, but I don't like. It doesn't mean this is bad doctor, but there is no good relationships between you as a patient and the doctor on the other side. And I think that doing the online situation can sort out at least that issue on the beginning, because you can check it out on the beginning if this is the person that that fits you. I'm not saying judging the medical professionalism of this doctor. I'm just saying about the relationships, which is very important, because still it's not a dentist and the 45 minutes quick surgery on the dentist chair. So this is somebody who will be like chatting a few times, will be running your treatment, etc., etc. So I think it's a very good idea to have the consultation before. Should you be worried if clinic is not offering this kind of solution? Well, as far as you got the money to fly 2,000 kilometers to see that this doctor doesn't suit you, no. However, I think that the most of the clinics would be happy to arrange this consultation. However, I think most of them would charge the money for that. However, from the other point of view, investing, I don't know how much this consultation can cost you, maybe 80 to 200 euro probably. Spending 200 euro and doing this 40 or 45 minutes consultation online with the doctor who is 2,000 kilometers away, I think it's always better than spending 1,000 euro and flying to the clinic and back. So from that point of view, it's very good. Apart from that, you can always have a chance doing this kind of consultation to discuss your medical things. Even though the doctor can't, do the test like USG, all of this stuff. However, if you got your history like shorten it in the bullets. I got like this one IVF failed, the embryo quality is bad, the fertilization was bad because of the oocyte quality. My diagnosis is this one, this one. I got this test done, and these are the results. You can always have a like second or the third consultation, another eyes who are looking on your situation, and maybe he or she will say something that you haven't heard before. We have many examples in our like in what we are doing on everyday basis. Patients who are, we got this project IVF webinars. There are medical webinars like today. Yeah, we have the webinar, and we got the patients. This is the reality. I'm not joking. We got the patients who are coming back to us and say, I went to that clinic because I saw the webinar. So they haven't even get this consultation because they've seen a doctor on the webinar. But what was the reason they went there? Because the doctor said something that they have never heard about. They saw the point of doing something in different way because they've had already 3 IVF cycles failed in their own country. And nobody told them in their own country that there is another possibility to do things in another way. And you can treat this kind of consultation to, to try to hear that thing. And maybe this doctor will do that work, job, and find something at your history that can be done in different way in the future, and you will believe him or her. So from that point of view, I think is the best thing we are having looking at this Google 21st century computers, online consultations, and webinars. The best thing, this is the best for the patients, not for my son, obviously, because he's like doing Google instead of the learning. However, for patients, it's absolutely brilliant because you can save time, money, and get to know nice things during this online consultation with the doctor.
Yes, and thank you for your advice on this topic as well. We will now take the next question. Can we get a copy of the slideshow? I'd like to have it to view some of the comparative info between countries.
You can download the guide because the slides in this presentation are taken from the guides. There are just screenshots of the pages from the guide. So we put again the link to the guide where you can download it. Okay, I just write it here, and you can download it over there. There are a lot more information that I presented here over there.
Yes, and speaking of which, there is also a question, what is the guide we are talking about? So if you just can say...
This is the guide this is the guide we have published 2 months ago, and it was launched during Fertility Show in London. And this is the guide for patients who are going abroad. One thing I didn't mention before, there are no advertisements, any kind of ads in this guide. I mean, it's completely impartial, and it's far away from the clinics. There are no clinics inside. Because we didn't want to, to make it look like somebody from one of the clinics put the fingers in this guide and doing things in a different way. We just wanted to do that as the patients would do from their point of view. Okay.
Yes, great, and thank you for your questions and for your answers, Aleksander, as well. And the next question is more specific. Can you please advise on the best clinic in Prague? I'm looking into IVF Cube. Is this recommended?
You put me in very not comfortable position answering this question. However, there are few very good clinics, many very good clinics in Prague. If you are asking in particular about IVF Cube, we were there, we know them, we visited that clinic. We heard very positive feedback from the patients from that clinic. But you need to remember there is no such a thing like best clinic. There are not best clinics on the world. because what is best for you is not best for me or for any other patient. So maybe this is something about relationship between you, their customer service, their doctors, etc. etc. So it's always to check it up before you make the final decision. However, I can't say anything wrong about IVF Group anyway. It's a good, well-established clinic in Prague.
Yes, and thank you for facing this even less comfortable question. And the next one is as well connected to the destination, but which North Cyprus clinics are certified? We can always provide the information later on if...
I can't tell you right now because I don't remember. I remember two of them, and I wouldn't like to make the others feel bad about not mentioning them. So if you please contact Elizabeth or Caroline, they just get back to you with the information. It's not a problem at all. Okay. As I told you, we don't publish or quote or put in any way in the guide any clinic. So we are mentioning about North Cyprus part in the guides about the certification thing, etc. However, there are no names of the clinics because it's changing over the time. So if you please ask Caroline, just send them email or text message or whatever, and they get back to you with an information. Okay.
Yes, and I put again email address, which you can use to write us an email directly to me or to Elizabeth or Caroline. And either way, we will forward and provide you with information specific on this question. Okay, we will now have the next question, and we have still a few to go. This will be the next one. I am in contact with clinic from North Cyprus, and only today I have realized that I'm talking through coordinators for past few months. Is that right? I was never offered talk to doctor. They have never mentioned how they will be monitoring me after the treatment, what sort of follow-up they do. Is that typical to this location?
I would say I wouldn't use word typical. There are many different kinds of the clinics, and some of them are working in this way, some of them are working in this way. This particular clinic is working that way, and they just trying to put all of the communications through the coordinators, and maybe they didn't offer the consultation because they haven't got something like that in offer. However, it's not. I wouldn't say it's typical for North Cyprus. You can find clinics who are working like that in every country. So I wouldn't say it's bad or good. It's just the way they work. If you prefer to have a clinic with who offer you the consultation, even though it would be paid or something, but it's still the possibility. You may ask them if it's an option. If not, you can find another one and try to make your choice on a different basis, not only on the basis of exchanging emails with the coordinators. Okay. But
yes.
I repeat that it's not typical for the location. There are clinics all over the world who are working that way. Okay. You can find this kind of clinics. It's the same like you got big clinics who are doing 5,000 cycles a year, and the small clinics who are doing 300 cycles a year. Boutique clinics they are located in small villas or something like that. They have more time to support patients. The big clinics have less time to support patients because they have a lot of work to support all of these patients they've got already. So it's the same. It's just the way and the procedure they work. They supporting patients before the treatment.
Perfect and great. Thank you for the question, of course, and for the answer. And we will go straight to the next one, which is in two parts. So I will display the first one. In Spain, as most of Europe, donors are anonymous. We have a clinic in Spain we trust so far. They gave us a donor, but they seem to say they focused on medical health and not appearance. We thought we should ask they focus on appearance first and then check health. What do you think? We want to have similar appearance to mother, but health is also important. We don't want to be picky, but they did check appearance, but only height and weight.
Yes, this is true. This is according to Spanish law, which treats the anonymity of the donor in a bit different way than in other destinations. I mean, they can't share you any information which can connect you with the donor. That means that they can't probably say the like overall how the person looks like, etc., etc. However, you know how the person does look like because, according to the Spanish law, the donor with the recipient needs to be phenotype similar. So we call it phenotype matching. If that's the phenotype matching, that means that the donor is as similar to you as it's possible. So I'm sure it's the same race, very close to the height and weights, and the hair color is important and eye color is important. So this is how it works in Spain. I mean, there are strict rules about this qualification of the donors and the phenotype matching and connecting donors with the recipients. I'm sure if it's a well-established clinic, you can trust them that will be okay. And I don't know what you mean about the health thing, if they're like doing some genetic testing on the donors, etc., etc. I don't know that. However, it's important as well. But what they're saying, it's not because of that clinic. In most of the clinics in Spain, you will hear exactly the same. It's because of the Spanish law.
Thank you for explaining this to us as well. We have the next question about health issues. How do clinics ensure the donor do not have HIV when the eggs are retrieved and fertilized and transferred, since there is a 3-month window of testing HIV?
There are, we need to ask particular clinics for that, but if there are two things to consider. The first one is if there are fresh donor eggs or the frozen outside from the bank. If there are frozen eggs from the bank, the clinics has got different possibilities because they can, do the egg retrieval and then they test the donor again after 3 or 6 months. The usual practice is that they are doing that after 6 months. It depends on the way they are doing the testing, because if they are doing genetic testing, the testing the HIV via PCR methods or genetics testing. I'm not the doctor or any diagnostic or any other thing. I'm just a marketing guy. But I used to work for one of the fertility clinics, the big network in Poland, and they got the laboratory, and they did it very smart because they used the PCR method to diagnose all of these things, and that works in a bit different way because you don't have to repeat the test. If the donor has a HIV, anything connected with HIV in the blood at the day of retrieval, they just know it because the test is very sensitive. However, it's very expensive, and you need to remember that you are not paying for that. I mean, the clinic is doing that for free for the donor because donor is not paying anything. Yeah, and these tests are done for free. So in terms of saving the costs, it's good to know to do that because it's very expensive. Comparing to the standard HIV testing, it's very expensive. Okay, but there are clinics that are doing that, and maybe the clinic I don't know, you are in contact with or have an experience, maybe they're doing that in this way. It's possible to make sure that there is no HIV over there.
Yes, great, and thank you for the question and for the answer as well. We will now take the next. Is it better to use fresh sperm with fresh donor egg? When sperm or egg is frozen, is it sicker?
I'm not sure if I understand properly. However, the fresh versus frozen, whatever it is, egg, sperm, etc., it's always the dilemma of the patients and doctors and their embryologists. There are clinics who are saying that the fresh donor eggs are better. So it's less. It's got the less importance with the sperm because sperm is relatively easier to to freeze and to thaw or unfreeze, as we can say. Because it's the from the genetic point of view, from the material point of view, it's easier to do vitrification and the freezing. All sides. This is very delicate material or genetic material, and it's very difficult. I mean, it's not impossible, but it's far more difficult to freeze and thaw after that than any other of genetic cells. So there are 2 or 3 groups of people, like doctors, and some of them are saying, okay, fresh donor eggs are better because we get a better chances to get pregnant, we got the better results. There is another group who's saying that the frozen are exactly the same as good as a fresh eggs, and opposite way. So probably if you got 5 clinics or 4 clinics, everyone can say something different. I would refer to USA. There is the organization I mentioned in the presentation called SART, and ASRM. They are publishing the statistic every year for all the treatment type done in US in every clinic. They are very very strict to that, and they're doing it very, very good way. And they got this data like since probably 10 years, so you can probably download the reports. The last one is from 2017, I believe, and you can find them probably 10 years back. But even if you go 2 or 3 years back, you can see that on this very large database, because they have plenty of IVF cycles and egg donation cycles in the United States, you can see the differences between fresh and frozen eggs in United States, as per report from these organizations, is on average 10%. That means that the frozen eggs are 10% lower success rates than the fresh eggs. I'm not saying that because I think it works like that. I'm saying because I've seen that in the report. And this is not the report based on 1 clinic. This is the report based on 200 clinics and probably 35 to 40,000 egg donation cycles within the year. And if you get back with this report to the previous years, you can see exactly the same difference with this kind of the treatment. So just summing up, I don't know what is better. However, there are clinics who are saying this one is better or this one is better. I'm not the doctor. However, what I can see in the reports I've seen so far, and this one from United States is a very good example because it's done in a great way. There is the difference with frozen eggs and fresh eggs around 10% on average, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your answer, Aleksander. And we are slowly getting till the end of the questions. We have still 3 to go, but yes, the next one will be this one. Do you have any information on primary egg donors in the Ukraine that don't cause the earth? I can't find anyone on all the clinics agencies database. I'm very tall, so difficult to find similar height, and the fact that they offer very minimal information, 2 photos and almost 0 information about the family health or genetic screening, which I would like to do on the donor, so to avoid any of the same genetic career condition as my husband.
Okay, I haven't heard about the Premier Egg Donors Bank. However, I think that might be an agency, which is like probably working on some kind of commission between clinics, donors, etc., etc. Um, you know, I don't know actually what to answer for you because you are in a specific situation because of your characteristics, which makes it difficult to find a donor in a different way. However, you need to bear in mind that it maybe a bit depends on the option you would like to use, because if you would like to use that donor in one of the Ukrainian clinics, you can go there and do it on the first cycle. However, if you would like to transfer this donor, I see you writing this is not an agency. Yeah. Okay. I haven't heard about this particular ECPA. Um, yeah. Okay. Sorry, I didn't understand that properly. So it depends on what you are looking for. As far as so, if you just to sum it up, if you would like to go to Ukraine, uh, you can probably try and see what clinic you will be able to do the cycle with. If it's one of the established clinics, probably I would say it could be okay, and then you got the chance to do the first cycle. The problem is if you would like to transport this oocytes to another country, because Ukraine is outside the European Union and it's not that easy to get these oocytes here to European Union. And then you got the fresh oocytes. Uh, as we know, maybe fresh oocytes are not that expensive over there, but you never know how many of them we thaw after the thawing process and how many will last to the fertilization. So we need to ask if there are frozen oocytes. You need to ask them if there are any guarantees of number of them, etc., etc. Because it's always a tricky thing. It's a different story if you're doing that directly with the clinic, because they've got the rules. Sometimes, in most examples, if we like support you with 8 eggs, but only 4 we thaw, we support you with another 8 or something like that. You see what I mean? But if you just buy the oocytes and do the cycles one of the clinics, it can be tricky because you never know the quality. I don't know. Nobody knows. So I don't know what can I advise you, but as I showed you on the last slide on the presentation, uh, don't be suspicious, but be careful and ask. Okay.
Yes, and we have also a follow-up comment that I've researched all of them, but none have tall donors right for me, and that is will be frozen as we need to check the genetics of embryos.
Yeah, but the question, are you going to go to Ukraine or just get the oocytes from there and doing one of the clinics in different countries? I believe you're going to Ukraine then. Okay. If
yes,
you can just type it in.
Yeah. Yes, and we have the next comment. So I will, no, doing everything in Ukraine. Yeah. Okay. We have, I guess, 2 questions to go, and this will be the next one. Do you believe law will change in every country soon and there will be open donation? I mean, not only for children once they will turn 18, but also for patients will have opportunity to meet donor.
Well, I don't know. What we know today, there are 2 countries who are thinking about changing the legislation. One of them is Germany. We heard that they are thinking about changing the legislation to allow egg donation IVF in Germany. However, only non-anonymous donors. So I don't know what's going to happen. However, we heard the voices that they're thinking about. Frank just typing in Germany, no way, Alex. Yeah. Well, Frank is from Germany, so he knows probably better. But I'm just saying what we heard, what they are thinking. But there is another destination which there is a lot of rumors about the changing the law, which is Spain. And there are thinking, I think there are even more than thinking, they just trying to do that. And after our trip in Spain, which was 2 months ago, when we spoke with few clinics and asked them about this law changes propositions in Spain, they will probably change the law and allow only non-anonymous donors to take a part in this kind of treatment. So this is the change I'm aware of, which may be important for patients. This one in Spain, it's confirmed that it's happening. We don't know if it will be done, but I would say it's very, very possible because clinics confirmed that they thinking about it and doing some work to make it right. Somebody is writing here about the Portugal. Yes, you are right. Portugal has non-anonymous donorship, and this is the country that many patients who are thinking about the non-anonymous donation or traveling. Well, obviously you got the UK, where is non-anonymous donorship as well, and Ireland, yes. But the problem is that in UK and Ireland, the problem is with the lack of the donors. We can think and trying to figure out why there are not so many donors over there, but I can give you an answer. It's because they are not anonymous, and as far as it's not that bad from the patient's point of view, if you put yourself in the shoes of the donor, it looks very, very different because it's a different perspective. Imagine a young person who is going to give something out with, huge impact probably in the future on their life, of the possibility of that impact. So this is one of the reasons there are not so many donors in these countries. The exception is United States, because somebody can just write here that United States there are not non-anonymous donors, there is no problem at all, and there are plenty of donors. Yes, but this is the reason that patients from US are coming over to Europe for the treatment, because the compensation for the donor in United States is between $8,000 to $16,000. So imagine what is the cost of the egg donation treatment if the compensation only is between 8 and 16. It depends on the donor, how she looks like, etc., and the age. So I think if most of the countries in Europe we go with non-anonymous donorship, it will be getting more expensive. I think this is something that is gonna happen within the years, like years or I don't know. We'll see. We'll see.
Okay.
And Ukraine are being a non-donor. Um, well, according, let me check. Just I don't want to make the mistake, but Ukraine is one of these destinations with this kind of. As far as I can see, they have the anonymous egg donation, and really, to be honest, from the point of view of the law, it's anonymous. It doesn't mean that you can't have a look on the donor picture as she was as a baby, because there are clinics that offer this kind of service. However, the donor is anonymous.
Yes, and thank you. We will then take the next question, and to follow up with the HIV question, what was the protocol if it is a fresh transfer, and can you explain what the PCR is?
I knew at the time I was answering that question that this will get back to me anyway. I'm sorry, I don't know. I know that it's been done in some way that it made the possibility to I don't know how to say it in English because I'm not really fan of these words, I would say, medical words. However, it's possible. I don't know where where can I refer you to check it out? But I think just let me check it out. Uh, if I were you, what I would do, I would ask Clinic how they're doing the testing and making sure that the donor is HIV free if that's the first cycle. And if it's the well-established clinic, they will answer you straight away because they know the protocol and they know how to do that. It's not a big problem.
Can't be able to find it right away. We can always fix the information.
I just found many thousands of articles about that, how to test the HIV using PCR DNA and blah blah blah. This stuff. Maybe I made a mistake and I mess up something. However, I'm sure it's possible. I'm sure it's possible. Otherwise, it wouldn't be possible to do any fresh cycles with the donors because you know obviously there are you need to probably what I can imagine you need to have a look at the documents and the paper legal stuff that you are about to sign off with the clinics about the donor qualification, etc. Because the only thing I can imagine, because the risk of the HIV, if the medical background is known and the social background is known from the donor, the risk is very low. So I can imagine that some clinics may put the notice in the documents that they will test this donor that you get the fresh oocytes from again after 6 months, and if there is something wrong, they get back to you, but the probability is very low. I can imagine this kind of situation. However, you need to check it, or you need to ask the clinic. I'm pretty sure it's possible to make sure that there is no HIV even with fresh donation. If I'm wrong, you can get back to me and give me the very negative feedback, but I believe it's possible.
Yes, and thank you. And now we will go to the final question, which is our last question. And this is also a topic which we were talking about, but we have follow-up questions about political instability and war in Ukraine. I am planning to make embryos this year and do transfer, but would like to attempt a second pregnancy in a year or two. A lot can happen in a couple of years. You said Kiev and Lviv were safe, but that is for now. If the extreme were to happen, what is the possibility of having my embryos transferred out of the country to a safe place for storage and future transfer?
Okay, I think there are two parts of this question. The one is political situation and what may happen within year 2 or 5. You don't know that, I don't know that. If there is anybody who knows that, I would like to hear that voice because I don't know. I don't know how to answer it because I don't know. I think it's not today. It's okay. Probably tomorrow will be okay. But what's gonna happen after 1 or 2 years? I don't know. And I'm not sure if there is any person in the world who knows what can happen within 2 years because there are many things that are changing very quick, rapidly every day. You hear that what United States is doing in Iraq and all of this stuff. Everything has an impact on the what Russians are doing as well. So I don't know. But referring to the second part of the questions, this is your genetic material. I mean, if you got the embryo stored and frozen at one of the clinics in Ukraine, I don't think there will be any problem to transport these embryos to your country unless you are going to sell them. So, in other words, because it's your material, it's not for sale. You will be transferring it directly to one of the clinics, probably at your country. I think it's possible, and it's not a big problem. There are companies who are specializing with all of the legal stuff and transporting this kind of very precious material. and they take care of all about the stuff, and I think it's more than possible. I don't think you should worry about it. Anyway, you can ask the clinic before you make any decision if they have any experience with sending any countries, etc., etc. I'm not saying about the all sites which are bought by the external bank or the clinic. I'm saying about your own material, because this is you are the owner of this genetic material. And I think it might be possible. Obviously, somebody is writing here about the USA. This is what I was going to say, that the only exception I can imagine is the USA or Canada with this FDA stuff, etc. However, I think if it's your material, it would be far easier than if it's something that is gonna be used to create any material. But you're right. If as somebody wrote here, if embryos are going to be transferred to a non-family member, you have to do special FDA. Yes, we had that similar situation at the clinic I used to work for, because we were about to sending the oocytes to US to one of the patients, and the problem is, if that would be the embryo which were like created for that patient within this patient, like being physical here, signing documents, etc. That would be the material for this patient, because this patient would be the owner. However, at that case, that was not family member because the oocyte wasn't her. So this is similar situation. It might be like that, but I think if you are the owner of this, and these embryos are because of fertilization of your partner material at this clinic, that wouldn't be any problem. And if you put the message to our girls, we can give you the details of one or two companies who are specialized in this kind of shipments. However, please ask the clinic, because they must have an experience with sending this kind of material outside of the Ukraine.
Yes, and thank you very much. I said that it will be the final question, although a comment and question just appears, which I will publish, and this will be really the last one. Is it possible to send a private email to Aleksander, because I have many questions to ask him? And thank you for all your information that you gave us.
As far as you are not asking about the lottery winning numbers, please feel free to write me, and I do my best to answer your questions. I just put my email address here. You can use that. It's not a secret at all. My email address is very transparent. It's not as secret as the price increase in some of the clinics in Spain who are not publishing them on websites.
Yes, and thank you for the question, for the answer, and the sense of humor for you. Okay, and now we are done with questions, and we will have only shout-outs now, I promise. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, very informative web chat. And yes, another one. Okay, great. Thanks. Great webinar. I really appreciate you are not trying to sell us anything and just provide information. This is great.
Thank you.
We can actually continue with those. Thank you. And many thank you, Sophia, Alex, Jacob, and entire team. Have a great new year. Yes.
Yeah, please continue. It's always to see, very nice to see the good feedback.
Yes, and thank you a lot, everybody, for being here with us. It was a huge pleasure to welcome you again in the new year. And as it was said already, we hope that it will be the great one for all of us. Thank you for all the knowledge and experience you shared with us, Aleksander, this evening. And the rewatch from today will be available on our website tomorrow, but I can only encourage you to follow us on our social media, and you will be always up to date with all the information and updates which we post every day there. Aleksander, if you want to add anything, any final comments?
I just want to wish you happy New Year 2020. I would like to wish you all your dreams come true, even those little dreams and those big dreams. We all know how difficult it is dealing with infertility. So I really wish you all the best. Thank you very much.
Yes, and thank you. Good night or good day, wherever you are. Be safe and see you next time. Bye.
Bye.